Once upon a time, there was a forest, a fairy tale forest. Hidden behind an old wall, it was the retreat of a restless and sad empress. Today, for both man and wildlife, this place is a sanctuary from the hectic world. A world which is very close indeed, for the enchanted forest is in Austria's bustling capital, Vienna. It's 7 times the size of New York's Central Park. And just like every magical forest, it has its own palace. The Hermes Villa, named after the Greek god Hermes. The palace and the surrounding woodland gave solace to the unhappy empress. The Hermes Villa lies hidden amongst ancient trees in the Leinzer Tiergarten. The Habsburg Emperor Franz Joseph built the palace for his beloved wife Sissi, the Empress Elisabeth. Franz Joseph was well aware that Elizabeth was not happy with the restrictions of Viennese court life. She would take long journeys and was often absent from the capital. The old emperor longed for his empress to return to him in Vienna, for Sissi was regarded as the most beautiful woman in Europe. One way the emperor tried to win her affections was by building the Hermes Villa for her. Now, Sissi would not be pampered, but could live more simply with the forest and its wildlife. And nature knows no luxury. In January, the forest that surrounds the Hermes Villa is at its harshest. Thick fur is needed, even in the midday sun. For young animals, the winter is especially tough. Sheltered from the cruel wind, a wild boar mother feeds her young. The little ones are just a few days old. This litter was born too early. With temperatures sinking to -20, the chances of survival for the newborns are slim. Only their mother's milk and warmth can keep them alive. Startled by the noise of a shotgun, the sow abandons her young. Without nourishment and protection from the cold, the newborns will die in a matter of hours. It begins to snow. The babies seem doomed. 30 long minutes pass. Then their mother returns. Her maternal instinct has overcome her fear. For the time being, the babies are safe. But it will be a miracle if they survive to see the spring. It was as the winter of 1887 came to an end that Sissi, now almost 50 years old and weary of life, moved into her dream palace. Leading artists of the time, above all the brothers Georg and Gustav Klimt, fashioned the palace interiors. The emperor ordered Sissi's bedchamber to be decorated with magnificent scenes of nature. Invigorated by the joys of spring, the aged empress searched for a new meaning in her life and found refuge in nature and poetry. She wrote,
"My forest, now clad in May's bright raiments, that spring with blinding light arrays, I thank thee in these blissful moments for these mad, majestic days.
The magical forest awakens to new life. In her celebration of wildlife, the Empress was able to cast off for a time her cares and sorrows. But for many of the forest's animals, the waking spring is an exhausting time, for it is now that they produce their babies. The damp weather has tempted a female fire salamander from her winter quarters. She searches for water where she can give birth. Some amphibians return year after year to the waters in which they were born. The fire salamander, however, will use the first stream that satisfies her needs. The salamander is carrying the burden of her unborn babies. She drags her heavy body to the Gutenbach, a typical stream of the Vienna woods, hidden in the Leinzer Tiergarten. No sooner has she reached the water than her first offspring appear. Over the next few days, she will give birth to as many as 70 young in the cool, oxygen-rich waters. But she spreads the risk, producing no more than a dozen at any one location, before crawling on to another spawning place. In this way, the female salamander increases the chance that some of her young will find food and flourish. The young 3-centimeter-long salamander has external gills to absorb oxygen from the water. And it already has lungs, which it will use when it leaves the stream in 4 months' time. The mother salamander is exhausted from giving birth to so many babies, but her task is nearly done. A final contraction, and the last 2 babies are thrust into the world simultaneously. Her work completed, the female returns underground. Were her skin to dry out, she would suffer an agonizing death. On the wall that encloses the garden, another ritual of springtime is taking place.
When a man loves a woman, can't keep his mind on nothing else. He'll trade the world for the good thing he's found. If she's bad, he can't see it. She can do no wrong. Turn his back on his best friend if he put her down.
Firebugs have their glowing red color to thank for their name. It's likely that the bright markings are a warning of their poisonous nature. Whether or not this is the case, the firebugs seem to fear no predators and spend their days locked in amorous union out in the open. reawakening of nature delighted Empress Elisabeth, and year after year in springtime she would return to the Leinzer Tiergarten. Franz Josef ordered that nothing was to disturb the peace so enjoyed by his empress. Now, the Leinzer Tiergarten is one of the capital's nature reserves, and it draws in 500,000 visitors a year. Today, seeing a Ural owl is a rare occurrence, but 100 years ago the owl inhabited forests right across Austria. Sissi may well have seen this impressive bird, but it later disappeared owing to hunting and habitat loss. In recent years it has been reintroduced to the Empress Enchanted Forest. Mice make up to 80% of the owl's diet. The male watches out for new prey, and both parents provide food for their 3 chicks. Only one of the wild boar piglets survived the cold of winter, despite their mother's care. Four months later, the sow has given birth to 6 more young. These newborns will have a much easier start to life than their older brother. As the sole survivor of the punishing winter, the young boar is already familiar with the area around the Gutenbach, and he brings up the rear in the caravan of youngsters. On a tree stump at the foot of the garden wall, the results of the earlier open-air matings are on display. The juvenile firebugs have yet to grow wing shields. To confuse and fend off predators, they draw together in their hundreds. Each young bug produces defensive chemicals to deter would-be attackers, and the impact is magnified by the mass of bodies. The firebugs stay close to the tree stump, for they feed on the seeds of the lime tree. The secret core of the nature reserve is the Johannser Kogel. It's a primeval forest, home to oaks over 400 years old. Today it's closed to the public, but might Sissi have wandered here as she read poetry and marveled at the giant trees? Trees that towered above all others are left where they fall. When they die, they stand until they decay and collapse under their own weight. Some trees force their extensive network of roots into the loose shale to gain better purchase. This is true wild woodland. For its inhabitants, the forest is like a vast classroom with much to discover and learn. The wild boar mother teaches her young how to use their snouts to sniff out food and then dig it up. Big Brother disrupts class yet again. He's already learned this lesson. The offspring are no longer living off their mother's milk alone. Worms, beetle larvae and roots are now on the menu. They're quickly becoming omnivores, feeding on a wide variety of plants and animals. In spring, they're particularly fond of acorns, and they prepare the ground for the germinating seeds as they go. Fallen leaves have protected the acorns from the winter frost. Almost every single one germinates. The beginning of a new enchanted forest. But only one acorn in a million will grow into a tree. This tree, however, has had a very long life indeed. Some of the oaks here were already 200 years old when Sissy was born. And they still provide homes for wildlife today. Great spotted woodpeckers carve their nest holes out of rotten wood. This doesn't harm the oak, and many years still lie ahead of it. At the edge of the forest, the oaks reach tremendous heights. Here, the competition for light is less fierce, and the imposing giants have greater freedom to grow. For many years it was thought that such dense, closed forests were the natural state of woodland. Today, we know that thousands of years ago the forest had scattered clearings, kept open by large grazing animals. There were European bison, wild horses, and aurochs, like these rare specimens in the Leinzer Tiergarten. The ancestor of today's domestic cattle, the aurochs was once regarded as a prized hunting trophy, and this led to the species' extinction around 400 years ago. In 1928, in the Leinzer Tiergarten, the first steps were taken to bring back the aurochs. Today, around 24 aurochs live here, and this year brought further success when 4 calves were born. The forest surrounding the Hermes villa seems almost endless. Primeval forest and metropolis seem to blend into one another in Vienna. This paradise, however, does have its outer limits. The construction of the A1 highway claimed a section of the forest, and with it, a part of the historical wall. The wall was erected 250 years ago to protect the neighboring fields from the wild animals of the emperor's hunting grounds. Since then, this 24-kilometer-long barrier has wound its way through the Vienna woods. Viennese poet Johann Nestroy called it the child of the Great Wall of China. But the wall is no obstacle for the 3 young Ural owls. They have left their nest and now face their next challenge, to find their own food. They can rotate their head up to 300 degrees, ideal for tracking their prey. Their excellent eyesight makes hunting possible even after the sun has set. Their attempts to catch their prey are still somewhat clumsy, but the young owls can already locate a mouse from 40 meters using their sense of hearing alone. And they can hunt even in the dim light of dusk. When night closed in with the melancholy call of owls, Sissy would often slip into the dark realm of her imagination. The dream palace had not brought her closer to the emperor. His hopes of breathing new life into their love remained unfulfilled. Surrounded by pictures of Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream, the empress wrote in her diary, "I fell asleep next to a king and awoke next to a donkey." Like Titania, queen of the fairies, she writes of her golden cage, the Hermes Villa.
Beneath the frescoes' lofty spaces, gaping doors and windows wide, while on the walls the dreaming faces seem to shift as moonbeams glide. From the stony carved terrace, Titania her domain surveys. In the May night's azure darkness and the moonlight's silver glaze, in the land around her palace, gently bathed in moonlight's beams, draped in misty veils of whiteness, stretch away the pastures green.
During the sultry summer nights, caravans of strange creatures embark on their journey. The caterpillars of the oak processionary moth feast in the treetops. Before dawn, the insects return to their nest. By the end of the summer, their cocoon is bursting with caterpillar skins. Chainsaws are only used in the Leinzer Tiergarten when rotten branches threaten to fall on pathways, or in this case, to remove bothersome neighbors from oak trees. Today, the team from Vienna's forestry department is working to free a 150-year-old oak from rapidly growing saplings. But most of the time, peace rules in the wild woodland of Empress Sissy. The tranquility belies a very present danger. A young roe deer would feed this fox's family far better than beetle larvae. So far, luck is with the young fawn. But this is not the moment to wander too far from its mother. The fox has picked up a scent. The mother shoos her young to safety. In the long grass, the fox can neither see nor smell the fawn, for it is practically without scent. Selflessly, the mother lures the fox away from her young. The ploy works. The fox loses the scent and abandons the hunt. The cunning roe deer has outfoxed the fox. It hasn't rained in the Mainzer Tiergarten for a long time, and the water level in the Gütenbach is falling fast. It makes no difference whatsoever to the wild ducks. A vast lake or a narrow stream, mallards are at home on any body of water. The chicks leave the nest within hours of hatching. They're already able to swim and keen to get their feet wet. They filter the water for food with a sieve-like structure at the edge of their bill. They'll consume water plants, snails and frog spawn, and are especially fond of insect larvae. Having escaped the hungry bills, a dragonfly larva takes up position and lies in wait. From hunted to hunter, a particularly patient one at that. Buried in the sediment, almost completely out of view, the animal can lurk unnoticed for weeks and survive without any food at all. The larva's development into an adult dragonfly takes up to 5 years, an astonishingly long preparation for an adult life that lasts just 2 months. The dragonfly nymph breathes using its bowel. It continuously sucks in water and absorbs the oxygen before spurting the water back out. The little fire salamanders have been living in the Gütenbach for around 1 month. They're in constant danger. The juvenile dragonfly can strike in a fraction of a second. The fire salamanders don't realize the danger. When the sharp fangs of the extendable jaws take hold, there is no escape. After this meal, the young dragonfly will not need to feed again for weeks. This salamander has survived. The dragonfly is full and satisfied. It's no danger now.
These are happy, happy, happy summer days. When the morning sun promises another wonderful day, and good fortune is all along the way. When your heart is filled with gladness, 'cause true love has come to stay. These are happy, happy, happy summer days. Summer days. Every kiss will take us to a new world we'll explore, bringing thrills that we never knew before. When the one you love can show you what's behind that magic door. These are happy, happy, happy summer days. Summer days.
Once a year, water striders gather to mate. But the females are not ready, so the males create heavy vibrations on the surface of the water to lure the fish. The fish scare the females, and they suddenly allow the males to mount them. It's a kind of blackmail. Mate with me now, or the fish will eat you. In the summer, the quiet Gütenbach is home to extortion and death threats. Time passes by the ancient trees. almost without leaving a trace. In August, the heat is oppressive, even deep within the forest. It hasn't rained for weeks, but the wild boar family find more than enough food under the oak trees. The young have gained a few kilograms in weight, and their baby stripes have almost completely faded. At this time, many small families led by sows join together to form a creche. Here, the young wild boar finds a new role model. Unruly adolescent one-year-olds fast approaching sexual maturity. Their play skirmishes are getting closer and closer to real fights. They try to impress their rivals by raising the bristles along their backs. This may still be a practice session within the confines of the family, but soon the brothers will square up for real to fight for the attentions of females. For this reason, the dominant female will banish them from the group. For other inhabitants of the Leinzer Tiergarten, the lack of rainfall really matters. The streams have almost dried up. Only residual puddles of water remain. The vitality of the forest seems to have drained away with the water. But there is still life to be found. A few young fire salamanders have survived the dry spell in a small pool of water, a remnant of the Gutenbach, along with some minnows. At 4 months, this salamander is almost ready to leave the water. Its external gills have become visibly smaller. The typical black and yellow patterning is now more pronounced. The salamanders wait for the first dull day to leave the Gutenbach. From now on, they will only breathe with their lungs. The high humidity has encouraged an adult to leave its hiding place. Perhaps it is the mother of the young salamanders. It'll be 5 years before the little ones will be her size. The young salamanders have made it all on their own. Their mother provided no care. That isn't in her nature. Finally, the heavens open. The fire salamander is now in its element. The oak processionary caterpillars, in contrast, will not be venturing out. Both in the forest and in the meadows, the plants were in desperate need of rainfall. And invigorated by the downpour, the oaks in the Johanser Kogel are now better able to cope with their bothersome, greedy pests.
Rollin', 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 rollin',
Rollin', rollin', rollin', though the streams are swollen, keep them doggies rollin', roll hard. Rain and wind and weather, hell-bent for leather, wishing my gal was by my side. All the things I'm missing, good bills, love and kissing, are waiting at the end of my ride. Move 'em on,
hit 'em up,
hit 'em up,
move 'em on,
move 'em on,
hit 'em up,
rawhide, cut 'em out,
ride 'em in,
ride 'em in,
cut 'em out,
cut 'em out, ride 'em in rawhide.
The caterpillar's fine hairs contain toxins which cause irritation and rashes in humans.
Move 'em on,
hit 'em up,
hit 'em up,
move 'em on,
move 'em on,
hit 'em up,
rawhide, cut 'em out,
ride 'em in,
ride 'em in,
cut 'em out,
cut 'em out, ride 'em in rawhide.
Two wild boars set off to attend to their personal hygiene. Throughout the forest, wild boars have dug out wallows, but the recent rainfall was not enough to convert them into tempting bathtubs. The pools are still dry, and the scratching trees remain unused. The old wild boar knows that deep in the forest there's a glorious wallow. A spring ensures that this mudhole is always well supplied with water. The journey was long but worthwhile, for here a boar can do what a boar loves to do, without fear of interruption. The mud pack, however, isn't all unalloyed pleasure. It also prevents parasite infestation and cools the wild boar's bulk on hot summer days. News travels fast among the wild boars, and the wallow soon attracts further interest. One drawback of a private mud bath is that there's no one to scrub your back. Wild boars can't reach every itch and parasite with their snouts. For this reason, every good wallow comes with its own scratching tree. Here, the freshly coated bather can rub off unwanted insects. After such a refreshing bath, a boar doesn't like to hurry. But the muscular beasts are no slouches. They can reach speeds up to 40 kilometers an hour, faster than a man can run. With no fear of the wild boars, and armed only with a wooden rattle, the Empress would step out on a beautiful summer night into her very own wild forest. Her only companion was her Hungarian lady-in-waiting. On her hour-long walks, Sissy breathed in the atmosphere of the night and gained inspiration from its secretive creatures. Drawn by the lamps of Sissy's dream palace, countless moths appear from the forest, an oak processionary moth among them. The moth has metamorphosed from a caterpillar with only food on its mind into an adult with an entirely different passion: reproduction. Its eating days are over, for it has no mouth. Nothing can distract it from this new obsession in life. The oak processionary moth will never taste flower nectar, unlike other moths which have long tongues to reach deep into a flower. With every passing day, the sun's arc across the sky edges ever closer to the horizon. Soon its rays will fail to penetrate and disperse the fog that covers Vienna. In the forest, the food supply is exhausted. The wild boar herd is forced into the clearings during the day. The 5-month-old boars and their big brother head for the rich meadows and consume everything they find, converting it into fat reserves for the coming winter. But they leave one small flower untouched. The snout of the wild boar is sensitive enough to single it out, and for good reason. The delicate meadow saffron is not only beautiful, but also extremely toxic. Humans are not as smart as the wild boars, and many poison themselves by mistaking the leaves of the meadow saffron for wild garlic. Overnight, the wild boars have dug up entire clearings. Trees that have witnessed their very last autumn in the Leinzer Tiergarten are no longer removed by the foresters, but instead are left to be claimed by fungi. What we call mushrooms are in fact the reproductive parts of the fungi. The body grows concealed in wood or in the ground. Their extensive subterranean system of strands makes some fungi the largest living organisms on Earth. Tinder fungus can live for up to 30 years. Since the Neolithic age, it has been dried and used for starting fires. And in the time of Empress Elisabeth, it was used to dress wounds. The diversity of shapes in the kingdom of fungi is unimaginably vast. When the puffball is ripe, it opens its fruiting body. When raindrops strike, they propel billions of spores through a small hole. And so the fungus spreads itself. The beginning of autumn is also an ending, a farewell to summer. Sissi could feel this when she wrote her poem Nebellieder, Fog Songs.
Unless today there's no mistaking, my heart too he's clad in ice, until with deathly sweetness aching, it freezes in his clammy vice.
The falling leaves drift by the window, the autumn leaves of red and gold, but I miss you most of all, my darling, when autumn leaves start to fall.
The dry summer caused no problems for the aurochs. They had enough water throughout, an inexhaustible reservoir, the Hohenauer Pond, where the Empress bathed on sunny days. Had the aurochs been around then, there would undoubtedly have been a clash of bathing etiquette. Mysterious creatures live in the depths of the pond, creatures that would surely have fascinated the Empress. They are moss animals, living in colonies that rarely measure more than a few centimeters in length. minute hairs on their tentacles transport microscopic organisms towards their mouth. They are so unique that they have a chapter to themselves in the Book of Life. The falling autumn temperatures don't bother the wild ducks on the Hohenauer Pond. The aurochs also seem unperturbed by the cold. They live like their ancestors, entirely exposed to the elements. Even in winter, the forest will be their only shelter. They're tough. They'll survive the winter months with the fat reserves they built up over the summer. The Gütenbach is so narrow that the canopy overhead cuts off the sunlight from the water below. That means dim living conditions for the rare local stone crayfish. They hide in hollows under roots or stones. An attractive home is not easily surrendered. In fact, it's protected at all costs against intruders. It's mating season, and male stone crayfish are looking for partners. Normally, the females aren't particularly fussy, yet this one is definitely not interested. She has already mated. Rather than fight him off, she decides to play safe and find a new hideout. No sooner has she moved in than the intrusive suitor is back for more. Although the male is equipped with significantly larger pincers, the expectant mother is more than a match for him. But the male doesn't give up easily, and the female decides to move on again. The male has been injured, but the wound will not handicap him for long. It will disappear when the crayfish next sheds its shell. The male stone crayfish continues his search. He uses his fine antenna to smell underwater, and he tests every nook and cranny to check whether a willing female is hiding there. With the hunting season, the year is drawing to a close. A year that began with a gunshot and deadly peril for the young wild boar. Too many wild boars are born within the confines of the sanctuary's walls. Man must control their numbers. If luck is on the young boar's side, he will survive to become a powerful adult male, with all the other wild animals in the enchanted forest of the Empress.
I'm a last leaf on the tree. The autumn took the rest, but they won't take me. I'm the last leaf on the tree. When the autumn wind blows, they're already gone. Flutter to the ground 'cause I can't hang on. Nothing makes me go. I'm like some vestigial tale. I'll be here through eternity. If you want to know how long, if they cut down this tree, I'll show up in a song.